So, hi everyone. I am here live doing a TOEFL speaking masterclass with a student who joined the preparation course. Can you please introduce yourself?
I'm Altamiro from Brazil, and I tried to do my first tests a couple months ago, and I had 86, but only 19 on speaking. So I need to improve that. Oh,
Okay.
that's it.
Okay, great. So, what
Do
we're
you
going
need
to do,
do you need more information?
that's a great start to let us know what your previous results were and to see how we can help you improve here. So, what we're going to be doing here, and I'm also going to show to tell people if they want to see the notes. Let me just put that over here if they want to follow along. So I'm going to be able to see on the screen. I'm just good. Okay. I'm just going to say hi, everyone, for watching. And here will be the notes. That file. Okay, so there is, I put a link there for the notes. And hey, Sharif, see you joining. Great to see you here. So I will be able to see your comments there. I'll check back from time to time to see that. And we're going to get started here. So we're going to go through a couple of these like type 1, type 2 questions and see how Demeter responds, and then what feedback I can give here. So we're going to work with some of the questions in case you are already looking at the document that has the notes. We're going to work with these speaking questions. We're going to go with the. We're going to be looking at ones from the volume 2 of the official test. So that's a red book if you have access to that. And this is going to be from, let's say this is question number 2 here. Can you see this, Altamiro?
Yes,
On the
I'm
notes?
reading. Oh yeah, I'm
Okay,
reading.
great. Okay, so I'm also going to put a timer on my phone, and hopefully you and also other people, if you're watching, if you can get a piece of paper ready and to write down some of your ideas. In the other workshops that I had done the previous week and the other week, I had given you some of the theory about like how we can brainstorm and come up with some ideas. Here, we're just going to kind of go through it as if we're part of the test and just kind of 15 seconds, 45 seconds, and then try to get into that rhythm and then the feedback as well. Okay, so if you got pencil and paper ready, I'm going to put 15 seconds here, and I'll read this question for those listening and saying, okay, talk about a city or town you have visited in the past. Explain what you liked most about the city and why. Include specific reasons and examples in your response. Okay, I'm going to put the timer now for 15 seconds. Okay, that's 15 seconds is up. And now I'm going to put 45 seconds. Okay, ready and go. Mhm.
I think that I think that being in Madison Lake, Minnesota, was a very great experience, and I feel this way for two reasons: because I saw snow for the first time, and second, because I could walk in a frozen lake. That was awesome, and I never did that in my own country. That's it.
Okay, we still have like about 10 seconds left here. Okay, so can you show me your notes?
Well, I just I Madison Lake, snow, and
Mm-hmm.
walking in frozen lake.
Okay. Okay. So my suggestions here would be to also, I'm going to go over to the notes here. And so we've got, so one more time, sorry, I'm kind of going between the video there and that. Can you
No,
help me
yeah,
write that?
me
Can you help me
too.
write down on the notes there? So we have the name of the city, I think, name of the city, and
I can,
then snow. Oh, yeah.
may I,
Yeah, go ahead. You're right. Mhm.
my notes, all right.
Yeah, that'll help.
Madison Lake,
Mm-hmm.
snow, walking in in
Frozen Lake.
yeah.
Okay. Now, okay. So what I would do here, and also the start, your first opening sentence there was, um,
I
I
think that
yeah, I think it could be a little bit stronger of an introduction. So I would take a few keywords here. So like one of them would be, let's say, city. It's like the visited, the past, and then this this what you liked in there, and also the why. I think you did explain like this was the first time, but when we're looking at these things like snow, and also this walking on for like
oh,
the
yeah.
surface, but uh, so if I was going through your notes here and I was going to make this introduction, this topic sentence, I'd say maybe maybe one city that I visited uh, in the past, and that I really enjoyed. I want to use maybe a synonym here was Madison Lake in is this Wisconsin or Michigan?
Minnesota.
Minnesota, sorry. Minnesota. Um, and I think I may have heard you in another audio file that you had sent me saying something like, I feel this way for two main reasons, that kind of a phrase. For me, I'm not such a big fan of that phrase. It does start to sound a bit potentially cliche. I think a lot of students end up using it too much. So I might say something more like, I really enjoyed, like the way I would speak in a conversation here of, um, I, I, um, I really liked uh, this place for a few reasons. Maybe not committing to like two reasons, but maybe just like for
It sounds more natural.
a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. For a few reasons, or even for the following reasons. And then you just get into the information. So for the following reasons. Um, and then maybe here a tiny bit of a back history, which could be, well, first of all, um, I come from Brazil and we don't have much snow,
I don't have any,
um,
no
or
snow,
any,
any.
or any at all.
Yeah.
So this was my first experience to to see snow in person, and I also was able to walk on a frozen lake, and that was exciting and terrifying at the same time because I didn't know if I might accidentally fall through the ice. But it was and enjoyable experience. And even some friends helped teach me how to ski. Overall, it was a really fun and enjoyable time there. Uh, in terms of like why you liked it, what did you enjoy about it, how did you feel? Try to think of a few of those details in there. And in your notes, yeah, try to expand. I know you just have 15 seconds here, but trying to get something more than snow.
More
Maybe,
details. You say to put some details.
yes, something visual, something, because this concept snow, it's like you could say anything or everything about it, but we need to focus on like one aspect of it. Like if we only have 45 seconds, and I think your answer right now it's about like 30 seconds, so you're missing out on maybe another 10 seconds of content you could add here. So the feedback you would probably get is you can you can present your ideas, you can talk about experiences you've had, um, but the elaboration, the development of your idea is somewhat limited. And they might interpret that as you have a low level of grammar or limited vocabulary, but it might also just be are you providing enough detail? Are you adding content to this message? Can you go into it one or two steps to imagine somebody is asking you this, but why? Why? Or how did you enjoy that? Or how did that make you feel? Or so I think looking at this from this perspective of, well, I've never seen snow before, or where I live, we don't have that. So this was a very new experience. This was something you had never done before. So maybe take a few of these details that could be this like this awe, this wonder of, huh, that was in. I really liked it because of this. And yeah, thanks. Yeah, things I was speaking and typing at the same time. Now, in terms of what I would put in here, I think I was using the word really in terms of like here. I'm probably putting the word really too much, so I might switch that if I was trying to speak here. But one thing that I am trying to do in terms of my vocabulary and my variety of vocabulary is, if you notice here, I've got enjoyed, then I've got enjoyable. Um, and I suppose you could throw a word there in enjoyment, but you might also want to look into some other vocabulary words instead of just like. So looking at synonyms or what
Uh,
synonyms are there for like, enjoy. Um, yeah, it's not an easy one because sometimes we keep saying, oh, I liked it, I liked it, I liked it, I liked it a lot, and I really liked it. So it can get a bit repetitive when we're talking about our hobbies, our interests, or places we've visited. But one link I could share here, well, one, the thesaurus, and just look up for a word like enjoy and see what they offer here.
appreciate.
Appreciate, yeah, that's one. Sometimes appreciate could be maybe somebody did something for you.
Okay, yeah, understand.
Oh, like I really appreciate that you helped me with that, but yeah, there's like, love, adore. I mean, that's probably love more. Uh, um, you could use some conversational idioms like I had a ball or had a good time, referring to those things, or yeah, that could be a little more idiomatic, to have a good time. Maybe looking at some of these other expressions for enjoyable, for the synonyms for the it was amusing, it was entertaining, it was fun. Uh, um, it was pleasant. Yeah.
Pleasant, yeah.
Enjoyable, pleasant, fun. So adding a little bit of variety, it does help to kind of to develop the answer, but it's really important to go like a step further in your answer.
And this part here in the transition, where I
Yeah.
said, where I used to said, I feel this way. I feel this way for two reasons, for two main reasons. I saw this on a template, right?
I think that's probably coming from like Michael Goodine, TOEFL
Yeah,
resources.
I think so. And I kind of put these templates here. Look, I don't know if you can see.
Yeah, let me.
We have here
Yeah,
yeah. And then transition, I feel this way for two reasons, this way for two main reasons. I would. So, do you think those are so cliche? Do you think it's?
I've heard them quite a lot, and the thing that I hear is the answer feels kind of segmented.
It's better something. It's better to put something more elaborate.
Well, the transition, I think what I mean by segment is just it feels like I'm here. Here I have my topic sentence. Here I have my statement that I have two reasons. Here I'm starting to develop it. It feels a bit mechanical, like a bit robotic, and in terms of trying to get you to speak a little more naturally, another phrase might just tie this in a little bit of you could get your topic sentence merged in with the fact that you have a couple reasons and then start developing it. So I feel this way for two main reasons. It sticks out when I hear students use it, and it just I mean it's not a bad sentence. It's just the way I hear so many students use it is it does sound like it's a memorized template as opposed to just
be more natural.
giving something that would sound a little bit more natural on there. So I try to weave this topic, some of the keywords, and mention like, okay, like I really liked it for a few reasons, or I liked it for the following reasons, and then you just start in, because I think what I would hear from like other students would be, I recently went to Madison Lake in Minnesota. I liked this place for two reasons. The two reasons why I like this place are that it had snow. It might sound a bit repetitive. It might sound a bit kind of like in school where somebody's writing like, what did you do over the summer? And it's just like a very isolated, simple sentence, subject, verb, object, and then no transition, and then subject, verb, object. And it's not really building up some complexity in the sentences or tying those sentences together. So I'd like to get something just a little bit above that.
This way, we don't have fluidity.
Yeah, when it's separated. Yeah, when it's separated. Like, so I try to kind of like I had a teacher when I was studying music, and he was trying to tell me like, look at your clothing, and he would say, okay, look at like the sleeve on your shirt, and saying like you don't have just a block of content one after another. It looks really good when there's like a seamless transition, like it's all there and it flows. as opposed to like, oh, here is my introduction, here is my exposition, here is my development. When you can kind of get that flowing, we try to do that in conversations. But let me look at a couple of notes here from Sharif. Okay, I think telling a story is about making the balance between following certain rules or fixed sentences and creating some details from your imagination. And kind of formal and informal. Yeah, adding adjectives, expressing you're excited about experiences, delighted. Yeah, one of a kind experience. Yeah, those, I think those are a lot of good points on there as well of, and yet trying to evoke this experience in your head and trying to describe it for somebody who wasn't there, in a similar way of if you had just come back and you were telling your parents or telling one of your friends, what was it like? Try to forget the fact that you're on an exam. Try to make this sound a little bit kind of what could be part of a natural conversation. Sometimes I tell people like, hey, imagine there's a picture of a friend there next to your computer, or obviously you can't bring anything into the room, but or imagine like if you're working in a work environment where there's the cubicle spaces and just behind your computer there's somebody listening to you. Think that you are talking to the person behind your computer, like not actually talking to the computer. Or I mean, there's people sitting next to you in the testing center. I mean, obviously don't look at them because that would look like you're cheating, but just think that you're having a conversation and you're being overheard, you're being recorded, but try to keep that just like, oh, okay, what if one of my friends asked me, hey, what was it like to visit Madison and see snow for the first time? Like, what did that feel like? Or why did you enjoy that? Or why did you, I mean, yeah, would you recommend that to other people?
I got
okay.
it.
Okay. Let's
just one more thing.
Yeah,
just one more thing. The notes. Do you think I have to concentrate my notes on the keywords?
Looking here. Well, this one, it's a little bit more straightforward. So a city, you pick a city. But it just feels like I mean, I like the idea of walking on a frozen lake. That's very visual. I can imagine that. Snow, that one's a bit vague. That's like, what about it? I mean, it's good that you mentioned like, oh, well, we don't have snow where I live. So for me, this would be like maybe some little detail here. It's new. It's exciting. It's
different.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah, different. So try to get some adjective that you could associate with that experience, because once you get those details, the story, the anecdote starts to like unravel. Mm-hmm. There's an exercise I've seen from, I forget which website or something, but it was like, think of all the things in the world that are of a white color, and people would like, and you've got like 1 minute, and you've got or 40 seconds, something like all the things in the world that could be white, and your mind just starts going in all different directions, and then people are like, clouds, polar bears, snow, the White House, and it's just all random places. But if I tell you, okay, imagine you open your refrigerator and now name all the things that are white in your refrigerator, like your brain just starts to focus a lot more narrow and say, okay, what is in my refrigerator that could be white? Oh, milk, yogurt, cheese, eggs, and you just start, your brain starts to process the stuff a lot faster and not in just random places. So when you take these questions, really try to allow your brain to focus on like one aspect of this thing. There's no such thing as like a perfect, brilliant answer for these questions, but the brainstorming technique is just help yourself focus on one thing that's specific, and then try to get some little anecdote or story that could kind of come out of that thing, and that you could describe it and put it in words. And because the brainstorming part, the 15 seconds it can be brutal if you're not kind of just, how do I do this? I mean, and I do this technique with a lot of students where I say, like, okay, let's forget English for a few minutes. Let's do this in your native language. And then we'll say, okay, go. Tell me about the city you went to, blah, 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 and what you enjoyed about it. And the issue is still, they're still struggling. Even in their native language, we get rid of the English aspect and we're like, okay, what's going on here? I got rid of English. You should be fluent now. And so sometimes the issue, it's not even the language itself. It's not the how well you speak English. It's the working on some brainstorming strategies, and like, how do you focus? How do you get another idea? How do you take this a step further on some of those details? So sometimes students are like, my English sucks. And they're like, no, this has nothing to do with your English. These questions, they can just be really frustrating to kind of get you to talk about something. But in real life, when you come back from the weekend and your friends say, like, hey, how was your weekend? They don't give you 15 seconds. They kind of just expect you to start speaking. Or, hey, how was the movie? You start speaking. But in those cases, it's usually you and your friend, you speak the same language. So you're not kind of having to do this in a foreign language. So there's a couple steps to that, and try to make it easy for yourself. Try to take something that would be easy to explain. If I was going to take this one, I would probably take something like a big international city, and say, like what could I say about London? Like, whoa, there's a ton of stuff to do there. Museums, landmarks, the food, shopping, walking around, taking pictures of the architecture, maybe some cultural things like go to a play, go to a concert. There's just a ton of things I could talk about for 45 seconds. You would just have to limit me on, I have to pick 2 or 3 things that I could feel comfortable with. In the case of like Minnesota, you got snow as something new, but then once you finish talking about the snow and the ice and the lake, you might get stuck on, well, what else was enjoyable about this maybe small city, or like the only thing I focused on was snow and ice. If there's something else I could grab onto. So try to visualize these stuff of like you're like doing rock climbing, and you need to give yourself like a foothold. So the more footholds you give yourself, the more options you have. If you just like look at the wall and it's just there's nothing, you're going to be struggling to kind of climb to the top of this wall or this answer. So try to pick possible answers that are going to be like, oh, okay, I'm going to be inundated with possible things to come up with, and I'm going to have to limit myself more than, oh no, now what? Now what do I talk about? Okay, and going back here, Sharif, in the speaking challenge, I tell the story like 2 or 3 times, each narrating with a different set of vocab and expressions. Okay, so yeah, Sharif is referring to the 30-day speaking challenge that I organize, and there are prompts that I share, and he's mentioning rehearsing those answers, and then also personalizing the story, adding your true feelings. That's good in terms of like translating those emotions, not just the words. Okay, when we think about what we're going to say, our brains raise like an alarm. So yeah, what we're going to say, I guess maybe that could be referring to the planning part, like what do I say next, what do I say next, what do I say next. But yeah, try to focus maybe sometimes sentence by sentence. Okay, let's try another question here. And okay, let's take this one. And you got your pencil paper. Okay. So this is, what is the most efficient type of transportation in your country? Explain why you think it is efficient, and include specific reasons for reasons and examples. And 15 seconds. Okay, that's 15 seconds. And let's do 45. Ready, and go.
I think that the most efficient transportation in my country are the trucks and buses, because we have a big. No, forget. I just that I blanked. I blanked.
Okay. 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 It's better for you to. It's better for you to do this now with me than. Yeah. Get it out of your system. Okay. So, okay. Now, one of the first things I noticed is I said go, and there's the and then 6 seconds are kind of gone. So there's a video that I would really recommend watching. Let me find the link here. See if I can show it, maybe. What is this? Yeah, here it is. So on here, this is there's a movie a few years ago with Denzel Washington, and he's a bodyguard in Mexico City, and there's a little girl who's bodyguarding, and the girl wants to do like swim competitions, but she keeps flinching or she keeps hesitating when she hears the gunshot for the jump in the pool. So there's this really great this swim training sequence from Man on Fire, and what I like about this is he just keeps drilling this into her of like, just you hear the gunshot, boom, you jump in the water. And I've mentioned before, like Olympic athletes, they hear the gun, boom, they start running, or boom, they jump in the water, and from there, it's just becomes a reaction. So when the thing's going to say and get ready to start speaking or now start speaking, that's not an opportunity for you to go, yeah, that like breathing and getting mentally ready for like the timer starting, jump in, and so one student that I was working with, this kind of thing happened where like, messed it up. Can I have a do-over? Can I do this again? I'm like, well, on the exam you can't. I'm sorry. But we were thinking like, okay, how could I give myself a do-over on the exam? And it's like, okay, take advantage of the 15 seconds when you're brainstorming, deliver under your breath, deliver your topic sentence. So like start thinking as you're going through your notes, and it looked like here you talked about trucks, buses. I would just say, okay, let's focus on buses. Because trucks as a means of...
May I say like road transportation? Road transportation?
Yeah, specify it, because they don't, I mean, transportation is really vague. Well, not completely vague, but there's many ways to interpret type of transportation. So yeah, give yourself that kind of a narrow focus on, okay, let's say, yeah, buses, or for road transportation. And then if you take buses and then you compare this to your other options and say why that is more efficient. So you could, in essence, this is a type 1 question where you're looking at some kind of experience, but versus like a type 2, where like some people prefer buses, some people prefer like taxis. Which one do you prefer and why? You can kind of orient it that way, and you can say like, well, I prefer buses. I think buses are the most efficient transportation in my country. And then maybe you could talk about some of the negative aspects compared to the cars or bicycles or
A
I don't know,
train,
or the metro or the subway, yeah, the train. So you
like
you
we don't have railroads connecting all the country here, but we
okay,
have highways. But we have highways, so
okay.
I can go.
Yeah, you can definitely orient it that way and say like, because we don't have an extensive railway network connecting all the cities around the country, we do, however, have
Highway.
highways that help connect the cities. So essentially, buses are the most efficient means of transportation if you want to travel around the country without flying.
Yeah,
Um,
because
so
flying is more
flying would help you,
expensive.
yeah,
Yeah.
more expensive. I mean, if you're going for a really long distance, maybe it would be better to go from the south of the country to the north. But if you're going regionally, buses would be the most efficient way to move around the country. So, um, yeah, that's one way you could kind of develop this answer is
So
looking at it in terms of what are your options.
I don't need to focus only on only on the main characteristics of the roads or the road transportation, but I can bring the disadvantages of the other transportations.
Yeah. I mean, keep it short, but it is a technique that I use and I recommend this of saying if you've got two things, what's the good thing of this? What's the bad thing of that? And this helps you kind of boost the thing that you're trying to emphasize. In politics, political debates, they usually try to do this of like, hey, his platform is terrible. However, they get stuck on that. They just say, hey, he's terrible, he's terrible. They never get into the why I'm good. They just focus on the negative stuff. But in your speaking on this stuff, if you can think of like what's the positive thing on the thing I'm focusing on versus like why that stuff doesn't work, one or two of those little examples, that could be enough to show that you see the big picture on this kind of a what your options are to talk about for this topic. Transportation, what are my options? Bus, train, subway. Are we talking about? And also, we're talking about the country, so I think that's a key word. Subway would probably not be the best
Yeah.
best thing to talk about. So I think yeah, double checking on the keywords there is really important to make sure. Like, oh, darn, I just talked about the subway. Then I look and I'm like, okay, we're not talking about your city, we're talking about your country. So um, let's take another question here or comment. Um, you just explaining the plot of the movie. Where did you get your words and phrase? As a missionary, did you
One
Oh,
thing
okay. Mm-hmm.
we
Yep.
have here, explain why you think it is efficient.
Efficient. Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
okay, but if I talk about the disadvantages of the negatives of the other transportation, I'm not talking about the the one I thought is more efficient. Is there
That's
anything?
true. That's true. Yeah. Don't talk about like five other options and why they're not helpful. Because, like I said, with this like political debate thing, they just focus on the negative. They never get into the so why should I vote for you kind of stuff. So let's really limit it to like one, like what's the biggest rival to buses? Maybe the airplanes or trains. So maybe you pick one of those, not necessarily both of them, and just really limit it to like one detail, and then spend the rest of the time on the why you think the buses are more efficient. So having a little bit like that comparison, it does help you frame what you're saying. Now that I'm saying that, I'm remembering there's this one scene in the movie The Aviator with Leonardo DiCaprio, and in that movie, uh, they're filming a whole sequence of aircraft and these the small planes, and he complains and he says like, there's no real way here to see how fast they're going because there's no like reference points. So he suddenly obsesses about finding clouds and says like, okay, I need something in the background. I need clouds in the background. So that can be a visual reference and say, oh, well, they're going shoom. That must be like the cloud is there. So we have some visual reference that they're going fast or they're going slow. But if all you see is the sky, you have nothing to compare it to. So in terms of like these speaking answers, sometimes giving yourself like some pivot point where, oh, well, I could talk about trains, I could talk about airplanes, but I'm going to focus on the buses and say why those are efficient, and maybe they are efficient in comparison to something else. Because if we're saying the most efficient, you need some kind of a comparison. You need something to refer to in relation to it. So if all you talk about is all transportations, it's kind of like it could get a little tricky to in what aspect is it efficient? Are we talking about the fuel economy? Are we talking about the speed? Are we talking about how many people are able to move from one place to another? So obviously we can't talk about all of those aspects in 45 seconds, but pick one aspect of how do you interpret efficiency. So these concepts are usually really big and vague and a bit abstract. It's really important to like pick one aspect and pick one thing and then compare it to these one of the others, and have something of a reference, especially like these type 1 where it's like the most effective, the most memorable experience, the best book, the most influential teacher. So you can either pick one thing to compare it to, or maybe all of the rest, just refer to them as a group, and then what makes this one stick out, or what makes this one a bit different.
I got it. I understand.
Let's try this one more time because you seem to get stuck halfway through. So let me put 45 seconds again. And let's see. Ready? Okay. So 1, 2, 3.
I think the most effective transportation in my country is road transportation, especially the buses to travel around the country, because we have much more highways than railroads. Actually, we don't have railroads going all, and we have highways going through the entire country. And another transportation is plane, but it's more expensive to use.
Okay. How do you feel?
Better.
Little by little, step by step.
Well, yeah. I think I have to improve my notes. I think the notes are very important to guide. I have to learn to pick good words and put on the paper, because I see them and I can't develop something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you have rich words, you can start drawing the connections between them. Your speaking needs to kind of link those ideas together. And
because I'm speaking with too much pauses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are pauses in there. Mm-hmm. There are breaks. There are breaks in your sentences. Like, I mean, you deliver the sentence, and then I'm kind of anticipating what are you going to say next, and I'm trying to anticipate what you might say to develop this, and like looking at this from like a math perspective or like geometry perspective, like if you're going to draw a line, I think the minimum number of points you need to draw a line or a curve or something is like you need 2 points to connect that. And if you get like 3 points or 4 points, as you plot more dots on the line, you start to see where it's going. So try to think of like your ideas. Try to take them like 1, 2, 3. Like how do you get that going in a certain way?
Yeah.
And that way, the listener, this is also anticipating it. And if the listener is kind of anticipating it, you can also anticipate this. And it's like, where am I going with this logic? And so you talk about road transportation, and then you also change this from efficient to effective. I think those two concepts, there might be slightly different. I would need to look in the dictionary to see kind of what's the difference between like effective versus efficient. You did talk a little bit at the end there, like there's trains, there's the planes. Maybe bring that up at the beginning just to get that as like a starting point of like, okay, well, we don't have an extensive train network, or the airplanes can be kind of expensive. So buses are an easier, more efficient way to travel around the country. And let's see a couple other comments here. So yeah, relax. Yeah, express yourself, show off some of the words that you know, and how well you can do this. Okay, so let's keep going.
I like it. I like it. The line idea. I will draw a line. I will draw a line, and I will put the words in line. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think sometimes this kind of brainstorming as like a mind map of, you might have an idea and this connects here, that goes to another little bubble, from that bubble that connects to something else. So, I mean, it could be physically aligned, but it also could be this like network of, this goes to there, this goes to there. And if you can help us see your logic, it can also help you plan out where you're going with your answer. So when I think of the buses, I'm also looking at, okay, you talked about the highways, and when I think of highways, I think about connecting cities, and in terms of, well, what are the other options here? We've got trains, but there's no railway network that connects cities. So that's not really an option. And then airplanes, well, you don't need a physical network on the ground. You just need a lot of airports, but maybe there aren't enough regional airports. I don't know. I'm just making this up. Or it's more expensive. So less people fly. And just trying to get one or two of those ideas. That could be linking ideas there, and that could be part of a. Let's try a couple of other types of type 1 questions. So I want to make sure that we get something like an advice question here. So let me get here. Let's say your friend. Here to start. Okay, so I'll put, your friend wants to start a new hobby. What would you recommend to your friend and why? So let's put some notes here. 10 seconds. Okay, that's 15, and let's do 45. Ready, and go.
I would advise my friend to search for a new sport to practice, a new sport, and it will good for him first because it helps with his health, and also he can make a lot of new friends, and as a result he can be more friendly and healthy, and in addition practicing a new sport.
Okay. Yeah. So here they have a new sport, make friends, get healthy. So you do have some of these details on there. It might be helpful to maybe pick an example, like what could be one sport that could be easy. So if we stick a little bit in generalities, it can get a little
and I had,
tricky.
and I had time
Yeah,
to
you
pick
still have
some.
like 5 seconds left or something.
Yeah.
Mhm. So yeah, you could like I would recommend. So I like kind of if statements at the beginning here. I might say something like, okay, if one of my friends wanted to start a new hobby, I would recommend learning a new sport. For example,
Soccer.
soccer. Yeah, soccer, because it's a group activity, activity, and activity, and he would meet new friends and also get a lot of exercise. Um, Maybe you can take this personal and say, well, I remember when I first learned it. Like, I remember when I first learned how to play soccer, and it was a lot of fun. So I think my friend would also enjoy this. Um, Secondly, um, when when you, when you play soccer, uh, you have to run a lot. So this will help him get or become more healthier and more active, while also making some new friends. So for those reasons, I would recommend um, trying out soccer as a new hobby. So yeah, you can personalize this, bring in your experience, bring in something that you've done, even if you just have to make it up and say, oh, I remember this one time I did that, or remember when. Um, and then the benefits of that as well. So you said here, make friends and be healthy. Maybe you can explain, okay, if you're going to get healthy, how? What about playing a sport, yeah, makes you healthy? Okay, you're getting exercise. What's one example of exercise? Okay, running.
Bring
Okay, you're
him
gonna make
examples is good. Okay.
you're gonna make friends. Okay, no, how or why or um, well, soccer is a team sport. You have to work together. You have to get to know other people, and you have to trust people. So soccer, it's a great way to have a team goal or to make people feel that they're part of something. And so soccer would be a good way to play this. Also, soccer, it doesn't require a lot of equipment. You just need a ball, two goals, and you can play anywhere. So it's an easy game to play for a lot of people. It's easily accessible in terms of a sport or something, as opposed to tennis, which you need a court, you need a racket, you need shoes, you need, yeah. So that kind of might make it less accessible for a lot of people. Okay, but specifics, examples, okay. Any other comments I see here? Okay, let's.
Do you think my answer was like a 2 or 3?
It's getting more into a 3. I could see how maybe if previously you've been getting like a 19, for me that means 19. That's what is this for 19? Okay. Let me write this in the notes. So a 19 out of 30. This is 15 out of 24 possible points. And so that would be the 6 times 4, 24. But if you're getting 19, this could be maybe do you have your score report?
Yeah, I'm just looking for my score.
Like I'm thinking that they're going to be saying like fair and limited.
Speaking, I had fair, fair 2.5 to 3.
And then what was like for independent, campus, and academic?
Campus situation, fair 2.5 and 3. Speaking about academic course content, fair 2.5 and 3.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I was thinking like these would be in the fair range, but
But during the test, I
did you miss one question?
No, but I didn't study anything. I just went to the test without doing anything.
Okay.
I even read about the test, how it was, nothing. Now I'm kind of trying to be more prepared. One thing I think that I miss a lot is my spelling, my intonation. I think it's not so good.
Yeah, it is a bit flat. I would pull out a little bit more some of the emotions here. Try to like if you're excited, try to sound like okay, more excited, or the bus network is the most efficient means of transportation in my country because so they're trying to listen for those key words kind of coming out. And I would definitely recommend going back into some of these exercises for the like the thought chunking, emphasizing keywords, and in each one of these groups, which word is the most important word in there, and doing shadowing techniques of listening to like a YouTube video or listening to something and copy where is that word, what syllable is that the loud one. Try to copy that as much as you can.
All right.
Okay, so let's do one that might have options. Let's do this one with 3 options. So this is a question, let's say, when preparing for an exam, which do you think is the best way to or to study? A, alone. B, with a small group of fellow students. Or C, with a private tutor. So, and use examples and details. Put 15 seconds here. Ready, and here is 15 seconds. And 45 seconds to speak. Ready, and go.
Well, I prefer to study with a private tutor because studying in a group, I really disconcentrate myself, and when I'm study alone, I usually don't don't improve. So with a private tutor, I usually ask a lot, and I try to absorb the answers he gives me, and I try to practice them later.
Okay. I mean, you're getting more detail. You're explaining yourself more. So the your answer is, yeah, it's getting this, it's getting development on there, and your sentences are mostly correct. The grammar, there's one vocabulary word that sounded maybe slightly off. That was something like concentrate or disconcentrate.
Disconcentrated.
That might sound like a translation maybe from Portuguese. Is there a verb like that in
Concentrate
Portuguese?
to concentrate.
Maybe to lose concentration, lose focus, get
Yeah, lose
distracted,
focus. Lose focus.
lose focus, to lose concentration, to get distracted, maybe to
Deconcentrate.
waste time.
Deconcentrate. Yeah. To lose concentration. Yes.
Mhm. Yeah, so this is an option where with you have these options here. You say, well, if I'm with a small group of friends, I might lose concentration. So in studying by myself, I might not focus enough. So a tutor can help me get feedback and like a step-by-step guide of how to prepare. And so, yeah, getting those details of what you could do with the tutor, that could be a good way to explain this logic. Your speed doesn't exactly have to be too fast, but you are continuing to provide detail and content. So you are developing your answer. This is better.
Do you think I was too fast?
No, you could definitely speak faster
Okay.
to try to reduce some of these pauses in between the sentences. Um, yeah, if you can speak a little bit faster, that would also allow you to deliver a little bit more content. You don't want to be racing through your answer, but I think for you, you could benefit from speaking a little faster. Okay. So that's options one. We looked at it in advice one. Let's look at a advantage disadvantage one. So let's say okay. So I'll put 15 seconds here. What are the advantages and disadvantages of running a family business with a close relative? 15 seconds. and 45 seconds. Ready and go.
Running a business, family business, I think some advantages are to no, sorry, no. I don't even I don't know how to answer even in Portuguese.
Pick something simple. Let me give you some notes from one student. So this one was trust, but maybe money problems could affect the friendship or the relationship. And then try to think of an example, a specific example that goes with each one of those. So, like, how can you trust?
In advantage and disadvantage questions.
Just pick one.
One of each one.
Yeah, one of each is enough.
One advantage and one disadvantage. All right. I was trying to think in a lot. All right. I got it.
Yeah, limit it. Just maybe like one or two max for advantages, one or two max for disadvantages. Because
and doesn't necessarily we have to make point and a counterpoint. No, we can. That can be different.
I mean, you don't exactly have to say like, oh, trust could also be a bad thing. No, gotta trust beneficial thing.
Trust is a good thing. Money problems a bad thing. Okay.
Yeah, and that could be just like two things you need to consider when running a family business. But a family business with a relative, like that's the added specification on there on a condition. So, I mean, you could start off like, hey, family businesses are already kind of complicated or challenging. Doing this with a close relative, that adds another dimension to it. And one advantage would be, I'm probably giving you the answer now, but why don't you go through this first?
No, but the first sentence, I think that the first sentence, it's really important.
It sets the ground. It sets the stage for where are you going with this answer. If you have a shaky start, it's really hard to recover from that. And if you have like 3 or 4 seconds that you're breathing or you're hesitating, that's time you're not going to get back. So think of this topic sentence when you're in those like 15 seconds of brainstorming, looking at your notes. Try to kind of get a couple of those words in your pronunciation, or try to formulate, okay, how am I going to get started with these key words and a sentence? And so,
I sometimes I don't know how to start those sentences. So that's why I took those templates because I felt more easy to start.
They can help. They can help when you need to get started.
They starting with I think that, or I think it is better to. I think that. Do you think I can start with that? Like in this example, I think that running a business, a family business, is a challenging.
Is a challenge, yeah.
It's a challenge.
Yeah. I think that running a family business is a challenge.
Do you think two more? Think that, or I can try.
I mean, you could reserve. You could reserve that. I think that maybe for like the second sentence, maybe where you're developing it, but maybe first, what is the context? What am I talking about? I think it's important to set the some of the keywords in place, and to say, take like these keywords in this question would be running a family business with a close relative can be a challenge. I think there are advantages and disadvantages, such as you can trust your brother or your sister or a cousin, for example, and then go into that example of how you can trust them. You say, hey, I know they're not going to steal from me. I know they're not going to try to take clients for themselves. This will be, they will do a good job. So that's actually getting like 2 or 3 ideas on trust, or knowing they're going to do their work, or they're going to not steal money, or they're not going to steal clients. However, and then we transition there, like for them. However, there could be some disadvantages. So if there were money problems, like if there wasn't enough money coming in the business, that might affect the relationship. We might get into arguments about the business, and we might want to like not stop talking to each other if the business falls apart. So those are that's one advantage and one disadvantage of running a family business with a relative. Try to keep your focus on each step of your answer, so that, like, what is the context? This particular one, it's not so much about developing your opinion about this topic, but it's more of they've assigned you an advantage and a disadvantage. You need to look at this like positive side, negative side of it, and both. So kind of keep it step by step.
Yeah, okay.
Let's look at one that could be an opinion question. So, okay, 15 seconds. Yeah, that's 15 seconds. And 45 seconds. Ready and go.
I think that sorry for the I think that again.
That's okay. Let's start over.
I will start different now. I will
Okay.
try to start differently. Okay.
Ready and go.
In my opinion, a good student must first, he needs to read a lot. Second, he must be good with deadlines. And third, he must be he must have good participation on classes. With these 3 characteristics, he will be a good student. Okay, but I did not give any example, and I could try to give examples.
Yeah, each statement you think you give, approach it from here's a general statement. Now I can go into something specific. So if you talk about participation in class, what does that mean? What does that mean to be participating well? Or does that mean ask questions?
Questions.
Volunteer?
Just I talk about participation in class, but if I include asking questions and volunteer, it could be more rich.
Yeah. More detail. So each time you make some statement of they need to study hard, what does that mean to study hard? They take time each day to look at their books and review and take notes. That could be studying hard. Or they do practice exercises. What's an example of a practice exercise? Oh, okay. Well, they look at the review questions in the book. They write an essay. They use the workbook. Yeah, just try to, anything you say, try to expand on it, clarify it. And leave no stone unturned.
Like studying hard. I can use, for example, reading and writing essays.
Mm-hmm.
And good with deadlines.
Yeah, set goals, stick to deadlines. Yeah. So any word, I mean, any concept you come up with, you can usually add one example of what you're talking about and how that relates to the prompt here of if they're a good student, well, they could be doing a variety of things, not just a list of all these things, but explaining them.
Is that correct to use participative in classes?
Yeah, I'm looking for the word stress on there.
Participative. I don't.
It's, where is it? It's participative. Participative.
No.
Yeah, this is on the Merriam-Webster. They're giving me this. Participative. So they're emphasizing this tip. I'll get you the link for this. Okay. We've looked at some experience ones. Yeah. Opinion. Okay. Let's look at a type 2 question here. So we're going to do a little bit of like a preference. Okay, here's one. Some people think that children should be allowed to watch whatever television programs they choose to. Others think that parents should exercise control over the television programs their children watch. Which do you agree with? Explain why. 15 seconds. Okay. And 45 seconds. Ready and go.
I think that parents should exercise control over the television programs for their children, because they can control the content they see, and because we have lots of programs that are not okay to children nowadays, so they must control these programs they are watching.
Okay. How do you feel about this?
No, I didn't like it.
What do you feel is problematic or lacking?
I didn't like it. I had some doubts about the development. I know the opinion. I have the opinion, but I to explain this, I maybe I I didn't like you. I didn't get to mount to
To what? Sorry.
wait. I will try to translate. I wasn't able to create a good development sentence.
Okay. It did feel a bit limited. I mean, you do have the opinion there.
Yeah, I had the opinion.
Yeah. It took a little bit to get you started, though. That took about there seemed to be like about 5-10 seconds that were kind of missing. So try to get this, what you're going to say, those first few words kind of ready in your mind. Like rehearse that sentence, what you're going to say, and try to keep that focus to say, I think parents should have control over what their children watch. Just like a simple statement that shows which side you are supporting, and then maybe what's one or two reasons why they should have control over that. You started to get into this of saying
I
there is potentially
I may,
bad material.
I may use those sentence that sentence. I feel this way for too many reasons.
If you need, if you need to transition there, use that. Um, I mean, templates are there to kind of help you get started if you need them there to have some kind of a framework to work within. I eventually think like, okay, we need to get beyond them, but I think maybe for you, getting you into an order, a step-by-step order, this can help you with the topic development of kind of what do I say next, what would be appropriate to expand on. But if you're going to talk about this control and you sort of mention that there's maybe bad material that's not suitable for children, what's one example? Maybe like violent movies that have guns and people being killed. Like that's not, children shouldn't be watching that. So, so the parents should be able to tell the children like, no, this is not good for you to watch. This will give you a nightmare. Okay, another reason why parents should be involved is so they can know what their children are watching and be able to discuss some things that might come up, like uh, maybe they see something about science and maybe the children are curious, and so maybe the parents can help um, uh, develop their curiosity or help educate them based on what they're watching. You could also take, in this case, like what we looked at before with the buses and transportation, you could take this example and say like, okay, what is a potential negative aspect of no parent control and the kids watch whatever they want? How could that be problematic? Well, they just watch a lot of uh, like uninteresting material that's not going to teach them anything, that's not going to help them learn anything useful about the world. So it's not going to be stimulating. You know.
Parents must control the content of some shows, like violent movies with killing scenes, for example.
That's a perfect sentence. Yeah, that's very clear. that's very clearly stated, and you could show how, like, what, and maybe you could take this another step and say, what would happen if a child was watching that? Maybe they could get nightmares. Maybe they could start to become violent and start wanting to hit their friends or a little brother or sister. They might become aggressive. So parents should have some control over what they're watching, because they know that that can affect their mood or give them some bad ideas.
Yeah. Now I'm
Yeah.
I'm
So
getting.
try to walk through the logic steps further. Like if sometimes if in conditions and results, this is a way to kind of show some of the logic of or your opinion. Okay. Let's get another one here. Okay, here. Some people believe it's essential for a person's education to learn to play a musical instrument. Others don't believe music education is important. Which view do you agree with? Explain why. Okay, and 45 seconds. Ready, and go.
In my opinion, learning to play a musical instrument can be very important to education of someone. I think that for two reasons. First, helping it helps to concentrate. It helps to the person learn to get focus on learning. And second, because it brings the arts for his life, and art it's always good for someone formation.
Okay, I would still say some of the ideas are somewhat limited, um, and you struggle a little bit with deciding who are you talking about. So a person,
Yeah,
go ahead and interpret it. Go ahead and say, like, okay, let's say a child, or let's say an adult, or
I didn't decided if I was talking about a child or an adult.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead and take that liberty to interpret, like pick one kind of person you're talking about, and say, okay, let's say school children, or young adults, um, or high school students, or something like that, and just narrow the focus, because when we get too large in scope, it does become a little difficult to kind of, like, where you're trying to approach all of the angles, and so you're not committing to like just one type of person. So we'll try to kind of just bring that focus on this one person, and how could the musical education be beneficial for that person. Um, Also, you seem to have some kind of construction where it was the like the education of a person. You could just hear a person's education, or a child's education, or childhood education, and maybe interpret this in one way of, like, what's one musical instrument that you would recommend? A piano, guitar, um, violin.
I can use an example.
Yeah, of course, and show how. like learning how to play the piano.
Helping my little daughter to
Yeah,
get more concentrated in school.
yeah, to show like being able to focus, hand-eye coordination, concentration on what is on a page and how to interpret it. And this also stimulated curiosity with math and fractions, and you started to get in there about like art, benefits of art. That could get a bit difficult to explain. So you need to focus on like one aspect of like how art is inspiring, or it's a creative outlet. So if children don't have the words to express what they're feeling, maybe they can use music to express it or something. So those could be ways to show how
But I
this
can
learning
use
how to play music
just
would be
one.
beneficial. Yeah.
But I can use just only one. Like instead of art, just stay in the first part. Or do you think I have? It's better to use one or two.
Well, actually, this one about art, that would be getting it slightly off topic, kinda, because I mean the arts in general. I mean, like there's painting, sculpture, theater, music. It could be a big umbrella for this, but we wanted to keep it the focus on music education. So
Helping on concentration and focus.
yeah, keep it more narrow on this one, music education and learning to play a musical instrument. So 2 examples: piano, learning to play the piano, and then how that could be beneficial in another aspect of like their education or something. You can make up some statistics or things like this. Where like, okay, music students do better at math. Music students are, I don't know, better at learning foreign languages or learning how to express themselves non-verbally.
I read in another exercise a question like this, but asking the preference about having classes with in campus or online.
Okay.
So when I ask, actually I don't know how to answer, because I don't know how which one is the better. Now I'm having a class in the internet, but having classes on the campus, it's also good. So in a question like this,
okay,
I have to say one.
Yeah, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what where you're going with this. So yeah, in reality, life is never black or white. I mean, there's always it depends, or there's like a combination, things like that. On the exam, it's not quite reality.
We have
It's
to
not
choose.
reality. So just pick one side, focus on that. You only have this 45 seconds, so there isn't enough time to really debate this on both sides of it, and benefits, advantages, disadvantages on both sides, and then come to some conclusion, which might be a hybrid. Like reality, that might be that. Like I like both, but just pick one side and try to show some of those preferences of why that helps you, why you like that. But obviously in real life, like you sometimes in real life we don't have to pick and choose. We could have both. But in here for the exam, just pick one side. There is no obvious right or wrong choice, or better or worse choice. What counts is your logic. Are you able to expand and develop your answer with a clear detail, specifics that demonstrate why you would say that, or So yeah, be generous with this information that you're using to expand on your ideas. Yeah, avoid sounding like a teenager, like, hey, how was school today? Yeah, it was good. It was good. Like, yeah, that's not going to get a fully developed answer on the exam. So try to be adding those details in there.
Great.
Okay. Let's do another one here, which would be like agree, disagree. This one you probably saw already in your book, but we'll go through this one. Okay. Do you agree or disagree with the following statement? Why or why not? Use details and examples to explain your answer. It is important to study math or science than it is to study art or literature. 15 seconds. And 45 seconds. Ready and go.
I disagree with the statement, and I disagree because I think that's important to have knowledge to have knowledge in arts and in literature as well, because in those contents we can find a lot of knowledge, and we don't only learn with math and science. We need art and literature also.
Okay, I appreciate that you're like you keep going, pushing and speaking. So yeah, don't stop. Yeah, keep going
I
until
can
almost
I
the end
can
of it.
I can going. I can.
Yeah, you can keep going, and just make sure you're not repeating yourself. So you are adding more detail here. Your sentences just they do feel shorter as you're trying to get these ideas and linking them. That will um, yeah, I mean, that will help improve your score here where you are continuing to speak for those 40 to 45 seconds. You're continuing to add detail. And from there, in terms of the, like, looking at the rubrics here one more time. Like, look, okay, let's look at a score of 2 and see is that relevant here? So speech is basically intelligible, yes. Listener effort is needed because of unclear articulation, awkward intonation, or choppy rhythm. Well, there's choppy rhythm, but I don't have to make an effort. I understand you very clearly. It's not obscured. In terms of grammar and language, the response demonstrates limited range and control of grammar and vocabulary. You do have a control over your grammar and vocabulary. These limitations often prevent full expression of ideas. For the most part, only basic sentence structures are used successfully. You seem to be using your sentences are grammatical. They're grammatically correct. Structures and vocabulary may express mainly simple, short, intergeneral propositions with simple or unclear connections made among them, serial listing, conjunction, juxtaposition. Your sentences are correct. So it's just maybe kind of a bit longer of a sentence, but okay, next. The response is connected to the task, though the number of ideas presented or the development is limited. Mostly basic ideas are expressed with limited elaboration. At times, relevant substance may be vaguely expressed or repetitious. There is that limitation, but I think giving you a 2 is not, it's too low here. So looking at a 3, speech is generally clear, some fluidity of expression, minor difficulties with pronunciation, intonation. Maybe, yeah, the intonation, the pacing are noticeable, may require listener effort at times, though the intelligibility is not affected. Yeah, that seems true. The response demonstrates fairly automatic and effective use of grammar, and fairly coherent expression of relevant ideas. Response may exhibit some imprecise or inaccurate use of vocabulary, grammatical structures. Somewhat limited in range of structures. Yeah, you might be limited in your range of structures. This may affect overall fluency, but it does not seriously interfere with the communication. Yeah, so your fluency might be a bit slow, but you have maybe limited range of structures there. Response is mostly coherent and sustained. Yeah, it's sustained. It's coherent. It makes sense. Conveys relevant ideas, information. Overall development is somewhat limited. Usually lacks elaboration or I can't say it. Specificity. And relationships between ideas may at times may not be immediately clear. So I would say you are more in a 3 range because of the limitation of either the sentences are maybe shorter, but and the elaboration of those ideas, like you're still speaking, you are trying to make efforts to keep going. I would not give this a 2. 2 seems too harsh in terms of, like, I can understand you when you're speaking. I'm not hesitating on what did you say, or so this seems to, it's getting more into a range of a 3. Okay. Any other questions, comments that you'd like to give feedback on?
No. I have my note here, a lot of notes.
Okay. Great. Okay. Well, I think we've been here for about 2 hours, so I think this will probably be a lot of material for you to review. I'll make sure you get a copy of the video so you can review that. And okay, great. So I think we'll wrap this up here for today. And just a comment here. Thanks so much, Mr. Jonathan, for this wonderful session. Good luck, yeah, for the students. Yeah, thank you, Sharif. Yeah, I appreciate you watching and following here. So yeah, I think Altamir's your experience here, this does reflect a lot of the experiences that I've seen with a lot of students in this range of maybe around that 20 out of 30, and trying to get better of maybe reaching like 23, 24 to get a little bit higher on there.
I'll try this.
But okay, great. So
just 2 more questions.
Yeah, of course.
About the questions, campus announcements and problem and solutions questions.
Okay,
those questions. I had some templates for them too. That is not so. That is not so. How do I say? That is not so much already. That thing that is stuck, but because the subjects can change, but using templates on those questions may help me. Do you think?
Yeah, question 3 and 5, they, in terms of your answer, they definitely can be organized in a much more predictable manner. What we've done here today, like questions 1 and 2, those can be really
it's more
difficult and just random. But questions 3 and 5, there's definitely a lot more predictability in terms of what to expect, not exactly the content itself, but in terms of its structure. You can expect something where there's going to be some kind of a proposal, a policy, an announcement, and somebody's going to have an opinion, a man or a woman is going to either agree or disagree. Some things I've seen with other teachers is that there might be some partial agreement. So they recognize maybe the objective. Let's say the objective might be to reduce the costs, save money. However, they might disagree with how that plan is implemented. So I think it's important in your notes to identify that conflict where they're like, oh, okay, well, I understand where they're going with this proposal, that they want to save money. Just the way they implement that plan is not the best way to save money. They could save money by doing something else. So in your answer, make sure to provide those details, because they wouldn't just be something to like just remove from your speaking. Those are key words, those are key concepts that would show how the man or the woman like fully disagrees, or maybe partially disagrees, where they recognize the benefit of this plan, or
it is more easy because the details are in the context, in the listening and the text.
You don't have to invent all this stuff. So for a lot of students, I would say in your range here, it's usually these like questions 3, 4, 5, 6, where you're taking notes and you are paraphrasing what you heard. That sometimes you can have a little bit more control over that content. You're just repeating. So in your answer, in your template, make sure to have what is this policy about? I do hear a lot of students say like, well, the man disagrees with the policy. And my reaction is like, what's the policy? So let me know what the policy is, or let me know what the announcement is. Just briefly, like 1 or 2 sentences of the reading passage is about the company's, the announcement is about the university's decision to build a new stadium.
It states that.
It states that, or in the reading passage, it states that they want to build a new stadium. And kind of like what we've looked at for a type 1 question, where there might be 1 or 2 reasons why you do something. So why does the university want to build a new stadium? Well, because they want to do this and this. And then probably in the answer, the man or the woman disagreeing or agreeing, they're going to expand on those 2 points of why that proposal or that plan or the announcement is why that's going forward, or the objectives of it, or the reasons for it. So they will probably address those when they're speaking. So the 2 reasons why the man disagrees with this announcement are that he does not think that this will be an effective way to reduce money or reduce costs. First of all, he says that, and then you get into some of the what he says, and then the general idea what he says, and then expanding on it with the specifics, like what's the specific reason he says or she says to support that comment.
Okay, great.
And question 5, this can also definitely follow a structure. What is the man or the woman's problem? What are potentially 1 or 2 of these solutions? Identify that with those solutions,
and give my
opinion. An advantage and a disadvantage. And there's usually some condition that will affect which solution to implement. So it might be there's a deadline, and there's a limited budget. So maybe with a deadline, that means you need to act quickly, do something quickly, and maybe a limited budget. Maybe your options are like you need to choose the most economic option there. So, and if you look at your two options, let's say a bus versus an airplane, you have these, well, one is cheaper and slower, the other one is faster but more expensive. So you need to look at your two options, say like, okay, well, the woman's problem is that she needs to get back to campus in time for her final exam. However, her flight has just been canceled, so she has two options. She could return to campus by train or by bus. However, she has a limited budget. So if I were her, and then you need to get into your opinion, your recommendation on this, and say like, well, if I were in the woman's shoes, I would take the train, which would be much faster to get back to campus. And even though she might have a limited budget, it's very important that she arrive in time so that she's not late for her exam or something like that. So I might consider these conditions, like the money and the timing, but let's say in terms of the priority, maybe the timing is a priority. She can't get the time back. Once the time is gone, it's over. Money, you can get more money. So if she has a limited budget, she could get another job, or she could borrow money from a friend or something. Money can kind of come back in, but time, you can't get time back. Once the day is finished, you can't go back and get the time over. So there's usually some of a structured template you can follow for type 3, type 5 questions. And I've usually recommended to a lot of students that they need to get like a higher score, like 24, 26 on that, would to start with really getting good at your like type 3, type 5 answers. However, recently I've started to see some students where like they're getting scores of 25, where there might be something like good, fair. Like they might get like good at just the 2 independent questions, or they might get good at the campus related questions. And I'm trying to experiment with this, and also looking at with other teachers and see like maybe there needs to be at least one good in the academic and maybe one good in the campus related, to see this distribution of where these scores are. It seems like if they're just in one category, like campus, and then the other 2 are a little bit less, for some reason it's not necessarily guaranteeing a score of 26, but that would be for students who are a little bit higher for their speaking, in terms of the elaboration of the ideas, the intonation patterns, and the grammatical range on there. So
good. I understand. I will practice more and continue to. I will do that suggestion you gave me to to shadow.
Yeah, shadow would be a good technique for the pronunciation. One student recently that I worked with from Germany, he had a very typical German articulation, separation of the words, and I was telling him, work on shadowing, use the TED Talks, use the transcript option, that when you look at a TED Talk and you go under it and it is blocking off those words in groups. He said he worked on that, and I was very surprised. He responded back and said he got like a 27 on speaking. I was like, wow, that's incredible. And he says that it was expand on the ideas, elaborate them, and then he said he did a lot of these shadow technique and thought groups.
I like this one. I like that suggestion. I like that suggestion.
Great. Okay. Well, I think we will probably wrap up here for today. Hopefully this session has been helpful for you, and
very helpful.
Yeah.
Very, very. That's for sure.
And oh, I'm happy to hear that. And so, yeah, definitely let me know how your exam goes,
Yeah.
and let me know your score report when that comes available to see have we made an improvement since your last score. So, when was that last time that you took the exam?
August this year.
August. Okay.
August. Yes, August. The end of August.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, we can see if these sessions that you've watched and then this one attending, if this has been helpful as well.
Yeah, that's for sure. I will make
Great.
contact.
Great. Okay. Great. Best of luck.
Okay, thank you, and
Welcome.
thank you for everything.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Take care.
Bye bye. See you.
Bye-bye.